Hi, my name is Abel Macias. I'm the Marketing Director for Tier 1 Marketing, and I'm really excited to share with you today a case study of one of our most successful campaigns in the Southwest that was able to generate thousands of leads with predictable results right here in Las Vegas without spending weeks searching. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to explain a little bit of the background on the client. All right, this client had already been established quite a bit of time already. They had been in business for about 5 years already, and when we first got started with them, they were experiencing this really big growth spurt that began heavily by recruiting agents to join their brokerage, right? They were in that growth stage, they were growing their business, and one of the cornerstones of the recruitment pitch was that they were going to provide all the leads for their new agents, right? It's something that we commonly come across when either brokerages or large teams are starting to try to grow their teams and their business, okay? They had already positioned themselves very well in this 150 to 350,000 price point, these neighborhoods in the Las Vegas area, right? Lots of these 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes, and they had done an excellent job setting up internal systems. You know, they had their management staff in place that were ready to run the big numbers, right? They had their CRM, they had their inside salesperson, they had agents that were trained on the CRMs, so they were ready to grow, right? They had everything in place. But the problem was they were coming up short on leads, okay? And that's a big problem, right? It's so big that could really derail everything. They could end up losing the talent that they had worked so hard to recruit. But really, like most successful agents, they had very limited time and they really needed results, right? They weren't looking to learn another tool or to learn another strategy or they didn't have enough time to be really hands-on with the lead generation of their business. They had tried different options like Realtor.com and Zillow Leads. You know, a lot of us that when we're first starting out or even if we're trying to grow, those are usually the first places that we go to, right? But they very quickly realized that getting leads from these type of lead providers had a very low return on investment. They saw that these leads delivered very low quality. And on top of that, these lead sources were shared amongst the competing agents. They weren't just purchasing leads. They were actually purchasing leads that were being shared amongst a variety of agents, right? So they were having to compete on the leads that they purchased. And to make matters worse, worse yet, it was super expensive to go that route. It's not scalable at all. If you've come across any of those, they sell their lead packages by the zip code. So, I mean, if you don't want to grow your business beyond a zip code, you're pretty much limited to the zip codes they have for sale. And again, it's just a very expensive route to go, and it's not scalable. Okay, and it didn't help either that they were in a hyper-competitive market like Las Vegas, right? They had to compete shoulder to shoulder with these industry giants such as Redfin and Zillow and HomeSnap. Now, these companies have essentially bottomless advertising budgets, right? It's very, very difficult to go head-to-head and try to play the same game that these industry giants do, right? You need to be able to enter into the market in a skilled way and do it quickly. So after a few conversations with the team leaders, we were able to establish really what the goal was and how to reach it, right? So they had a team of 4 buyer agents when we first started off, right? And they had calculated that each agent needed roughly 10 leads per week. And it's a pretty good amount of leads to hand over to one agent, right? If the leads are worked correctly, you can get roughly 1 out of 10 leads to turn into something, right? Really, industry averages would say that 1 out of every 20 to 30 leads will actually turn into a sale if you work the lead correctly, right? So in other words, what they needed was a lead source that was capable to provide on average 40 leads per week. But most importantly, they needed their agents to be focusing on the selling and the customer service of these leads, not the marketing and the lead generation, right? Really focusing their team efforts on what mattered most. In this case was the selling and the customer service, right? So after we reviewed everything, we came up with our plan, and our plan was to self-generate leads on Facebook and on Google search, okay? And doing this within the budget of the client, right? Now, let's go ahead and jump in and let's go ahead and jump right in to show you how we implemented this, okay? So we started with Google search. Now, since these leads are further down in the buyer journey and much closer to the purchasing phase, right, we started running ads there, right? We ran ads using roughly about 500 keywords that targeted all of the Las Vegas neighborhoods and the different variations that someone could search for them, right? Very methodical process. We tracked the feedback, we doubled down on the winners, and we cut the losers. Let me give you an example of what this looks like. We started out with many keywords, right? Like I said, over 500 keywords. And as time went on, we started increasing our bids on the ones that worked, cutting the ones that didn't work. And it's a process. It's a long, arduous process of fine-tuning, finding what works, and really just weeding out what doesn't. This way we could dial in our ads to really focus in on that specific age group or that specific gender and age group combination that would provide the highest amount of leads for our budget, right? And we also did this within, such as, were they on a mobile phone more often, or were they on a desktop more often? And again, we were just moving our budget back and forth, making our tweak, all in an effort to get ourselves to hit our benchmarks. Okay. Now for Facebook, it's very similar. When we knew that, like most real estate buyers on Facebook, they would respond best to image-heavy ads. Okay, so we tried roughly over 20 different angles. All right, and within those angles, we had a variety of images. All in all, we tested roughly 50 different images, right? And of course, we tracked the feedback, we doubled down on the winners, and we cut the losers. Again, it's just this methodical process of really finding what worked. In just the same way that we optimized over on Google, we did the same thing over here on Facebook. We were able to really dial in on the different demographics as well as the age range in which to focus our advertising efforts. Before we got all of this started, we had a conversion consultation with our client, right? We explained to them how important follow-up sequence is in the conversion of these leads. So we were able to integrate a high converting CRM follow-up. Okay, it's essentially an email follow-up sequence that gets sent out to all the new leads in order to maximize the conversion. This is one of the most important steps in a lead generating campaign, because if you can't convert on the lead, then you're not going to have enough to reinvest back into the campaign. So it's very important to add these high converting sequences into your existing CRM. Now they were using a very common CRM, so that already had the ability to send follow-up sequences. So they didn't have to get any new software. All they did was plug in their sequences to their current CRM. All right, so with due diligence, it took less than 30 days to hit the 40 leads per week benchmark. Right? And after around 90 days, we had a predictable lead source that was producing on average 50 to 60 leads per week. Now our clients at that particular time, they decided to scale the campaign and bring in on average 100 leads per week. Right after they did this, they also recruited 3 more agents. So it was working. It worked great for them. And they were able to scale up the campaign and provide enough lead source so they can recruit more agents into their team. So we did this for roughly 2 years consistently. And we also consistently generated a cost per lead well below the industry average at a rate of roughly 5 to 1. In other words, for every 1 lead that was purchased from a lead provider like Zillow or Realtor.com, which, remember, those are also shared across 5 or 8 other competitors, all right, for every one of those type of leads, we were generating 5 quality leads that we didn't have to share at a fraction of the cost, right? So last year, in 2018, for this client, we generated a total of 5,459 leads. That comes out to roughly 104 leads per week. We're not allowed to divulge revenue from the client, but let's just put it this way. They had a conversion rate of roughly 1%, all right, for the first year, okay? And after that, we got them up to a 2% conversion rate, all right? So let me go ahead and show you what this looks like, all right? Okay, so when we first started with this client, when we started running our ads on Google, right, this means search-based ads, right? We started towards the end of 2016, all right? And as you can see on this particular platform, we had 42 conversions in quarter 4, all right? We're just getting ourselves geared up. Now, in the first quarter of 2017, we generated 126 leads. As you can see, our conversion rate is starting to go up. And then our cost per lead is also going to stabilize somewhere around that rate of between $10 and $15, right? But we're starting to generate consistent leads for them, all right? Now when we get into 2018, and that's when the client says, all right, this is doing good, let's go ahead and crank it up. So we cranked up the campaign, and we were able to scale it. As you can see, the way it progressed is in the beginning of the year, the first quarters, you have essentially all of your spring buyers. Then you have your second quarter, which is going to be your spring and summer buyers, your fall buyers, and in the fourth quarter, these are going to be the last buyers that you're going to be getting for the year, right? This pretty much is the off ramp for the season. In Facebook, they look a little different. In Facebook, we were able to generate last year on Facebook alone 3,621 leads. Now these graphs aren't as pretty as the other ones, but as you can see, let me just hover right over this. You can see on average how many leads we're getting per day. This one's 14 leads a day, 10 leads a day, 12 leads a day, 14, 13. So we have this consistent flow of leads, really nice flow of leads, consistent all the way through. So here's what we found out. It turns out that ads promoting homes with pools, as well as map-based search, were the highest performing angles. Let me give you an example. Different ads that promote map search, okay, and then different ads that have a pool in the ad. Let's go ahead and give you an example of a couple of them. For instance, this ad worked really good for us, and this ad right here was also really good for us as well. Also, turns out neighborhoods such as Henderson will bring the most leads for that specific neighborhood search. In this example, I'll show you that Henderson homes by themselves accounted for, it's almost 1,000 leads just in the Henderson neighborhood alone. What it also showed us is that if we wanted to generate leads in a higher price point, right? So in these higher price point neighborhoods, we found out the lead volume is definitely going to be smaller. It's obvious, right? It's a smaller target. There's not going to be as many of them. But we very quickly found out that on average, those leads will be about twice as expensive. So what we were able to do is we were able to identify the option, really. If they wanted to go that route, we had options. And we have throughout this particular campaign, they would tell us, let's focus in on one of those high price neighborhoods, and we would shift the budget around a little bit, or we would just open up another small entry into the campaign, right? What we also found out is that every year around February and April, there's this surge in buyers for price points under the $200,000 mark, right? It's under that price point right there of $200,000. There was this surge that coincided with the tax return season, which makes sense. We see that throughout many of the large cities throughout the United States. So with that, we were able to see how it's so important to get connected with those buyers early in the year to ensure that there's this full sales pipeline. Let me give you an example of how this looks. So over this particular course of time, starting from 2016 to the end of 2016 and all the way to 2018, right? As you can see right here in February, we get this spike, right? A lot of leads. February and April, right? And on one side, we know that the real estate market is coming back. It's starting to ramp up for the season. But we were able to make that distinction that if you target early on in the year in those price points, you will fill up your sales pipeline with a lot of high quality leads. All right, so that's pretty much it. That's how we were able to take one of our most successful campaigns in the Southwest, and we were able to generate thousands of leads in a predictable way right here in Las Vegas. And we did it in such a way so that the real estate team wasn't bogged down in learning new tools, learning new techniques, learning new strategies. The team leader simply just contracted us, we generated the leads, and they went straight into their CRM. All right, so this time let me ask you a question. Did you find this case study valuable? Most would say they would. Okay. Wouldn't you agree that this is a predictable lead source that would make a huge difference in your business? Okay. For most realtors, whether you're barely starting off or you have an established team or you're a large brokerage, having this predictable lead source would make a huge difference in any business, big or small. Now, that being said, is it safe to say that this would be more of an investment into your future rather than just another business expense, right? Rather than just another tool that's on the market or all these bright and shiny bells and whistles that we see everywhere in the real estate industry. Now, actually, if all you got out of this was an extra 20 to 30 closings per year, wouldn't you agree that it'd be well worth the investment? But honestly, if all you got out of this was the ability to scale your lead generation on demand, now wouldn't you agree that that would be well worth that investment? But we're all busy. We all have a ton of things on our plate, right? Honestly, if all you got out of this was a plug-and-play lead source without having to learn a whole new system, wouldn't you agree that it's a no-brainer? Well, the reality is we only have 5 spots left in Las Vegas. In a city the size of Las Vegas, we can only fit about 5 of these campaigns in there. So if you're interested in leveling up your lead generation, go ahead and click on the yellow button below and learn how the process gets started. The investment is actually a lot less than what you're probably thinking. A lot less. And once the spots are gone, they're gone. Very, very rarely do spots open up again. So click the yellow button below and learn how the process gets started. Once again, my name is Abel Macias with Tier 1 Marketing Solutions. Go ahead and check out some of our testimonials, see what other clients say about us. And once again, thank you for your time, and you guys have a great day.